It's Midnight Trucking Radio Network. Eric Harley here, Mid-America Trucking Show 2010. Right now, joined by our special guests, the Roys. Lee and Elaine, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Y'all doing all right? Glad to have you here. I know the drivers are glad to meet you at our booth, but let's take a little time and talk about the Roys. So, Elaine, share with us a little bit of background for those who don't know you yet.
Well, we are brother-sister.
Yeah.
We're not married.
Yeah.
Thank God.
And I got all the looks in the family, as you can tell. I always have to say that because I can get away with that. But we've been singing, our whole lives. And Mom's side of the family was very musical. And they always played country music and had aunts and uncles that played the guitar and sang. And my grandmother played the fiddle.
Yeah.
So we were always around that musical element and then put the country music together. And we fell in love with playing music and country music.
Wow. Now, this is amazingly to think about that, because really country music really is all about the family. But when you have this kind of relationship, obviously as siblings, but it's also a working relationship, it's got to be unique in both its challenges and its rewards.
A lot of challenges.
I was going to say, I'll let him answer that one.
No, it is. I mean, it's you're right. I mean, country music is, it's family oriented, and we've always done this together. I mean, we've kind of growing up had our own little bands that we did, but we'd always end up back together doing stuff, and it's just that Vince Gill said it best when he said, the you can't beat sibling harmony, and for us it just seems to fit, and it's been working really good for us.
Yeah,
I can't get rid of him.
Yeah, he's following you around, is he? Well, and I think of all of the family groups that have been out there, for so long. But when we think of duos, I think we have to include the Judds, right? And those types of harmonies and everything else. So. That's just amazing, because I also see members of my own family, and I remember sitting around as a young kid and then wanting to learn guitar because my Uncle Charles and my cousin Chuck brought their guitars and they were singing in front of everybody. And I thought, well, they're getting all the attention. I want some of that. Yeah. So talk about some of those influences and about some of those songs y'all were hearing when you were growing up, when you were young.
Yeah, I mean, for us it was Grandma used to play fiddle, and had uncles and aunts that played guitar and banjo and sang, and we were always around it. It was basically we were born and raised in a little town west of Boston, but our roots are Canadian. Yeah. And we used to go to Canada a lot, and we'd get there, and Grandma would open the fiddle, and she would play, and the old Acadian Cajun songs is what we were raised on.
Right. Right.
And of course the old classics like George Jones and Merle Haggard and Waylon Jennings.
Yeah. And do you find that people are surprised because of where you're from and then where your family goes back to as far as your association with Massachusetts and then Canada, that a lot of people are surprised that there's such a strong basis for country music in both of those places?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we say Massachusetts, they go, what? Really? You all sound like, you're from Virginia or something, the hills of Virginia.
Right.
But in eastern Canada, where we grew up, there's a lot of music. Yeah. It's almost like a bluegrass, probably like basis, but they love country music. I mean, in Moncton, we're like 30 miles from our little village that we lived in. We'd go see all the concerts, the George Jones and the Merle Haggards and Loretta Lynn. And so for us, it was always there. I mean, they just love country music, and they love the traditional sound. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Lee, tell us about the new CD.
Well, the new CD is about a year in the making. We just, we hadn't really started to make a new CD. We were just writing. Right. And then we'd get this collection of songs, and we'd say, okay, well, we're not going to play these for anybody as far as trying to get them cut by anybody, because we're both songwriters. We figured we're going to hang on to these. And finally it just got to the point where we said, you know what, it's time to go in and cut. If we're going to hold on to these for us, let's do this. And so we cut this new album. We paired up with Steve Dean, who co-produced this record with us. Steve Dean wrote "Watching You" for Rodney Atkins and "Roundabout Way" for George Strait, and he's had 6 number ones, and so he's become a very dear friend, a member of the family, really. And keep joking, he's the third Roy. And we just went in and started cutting and just tracking a bunch of stuff, and ended up with 15 songs, and we were not sure which ones were going to make the record, so we decided to put all 15 on there. So there's 15 songs on this new album. We're in the process right now of picking the next single. Yeah. and then artwork and getting all that stuff going. So hopefully the album will be out this fall, and the single will be out this summer, I'm sure, sometime in May or June.
Yeah. Elaine, that has to be one of those moments where you say, gosh, we're not willing to sacrifice any of these, any of our babies here. We love them all equally. They've all got to be a part of this collection. Did you all look at each other and say, my gosh, this is going to be a 15-song album? This is big?
You know, like I think we cut 17 or 16. Yeah. And it was 17 because we took 2 of them and we said, you know, after a while when you get in the studio and you kind of get a feel for what's happening, those 2 kind of like just didn't fit.
Right.
So we're like, okay, well, that pares down to, 2 less that we have to worry about.
Right.
Then we get down to the 15, and we kept looking at, the 3 of us kept, talking about it and listening, and we're like, I know we're partial to these, but I think they can fit on this album, so let's just keep them all on there. So we did.